Hey guys, just going through the YouTube comments. Thank you very much for your feedback. And first up, we have one from Ivan Suckles, who is a regular. Thank you very much for this. I am very well, thanks. I so hope I can give you an oral description of your audiobook in private. Well, the audiobook is 10 hours. Let me know when you've listened to it. Thank you very much for that one. Next up we have, hang on, my computer's crashing out. Parker Smith 4665 commented, "Keep away from garlic in the sun, my guy." Nikakakakakaka01 has said, 2 questions. 1, are you a vampire? And 2, if no, where in the world did you get them chompers? Well, look, listen, Nikakakakakakaka, I've been over this. I have a condition and I have vampire in my ancestry. Which means I am not a vampire, but I do have a condition. We've been over this. Maybe I should do a whole episode on that. But thank you for your question. Lynn's Vids commented, energy can never be created or destroyed, just transformed. Yes, correct, Lynn's. Once again, thank you for your insight. However, we could actually expand on this by saying that energy cannot just be transformed, but it can also be set free, directed, suppressed, guided, nurtured, opened, allowed to grow and flourish, used to channel certain experiences and feelings, used as a way of understanding the world, as a way of understanding yourself, as a way of experiencing certain things. So yes, this old saying is a old classic New Age paradigm saying, and it still stands true that yes, energy can never be created or destroyed, just transformed, and yet it can be many things. So thank you very much for your comment. Next up, Ivan Suckles again has said, absolutely, I will not let you down. I'm not quite sure where to start with the process. Well, you start with the first step. Any process begins with step 1. And then goes on to step 2. And then goes on to step 3. Right? That's why it's called a process. Because you begin at the start. You do the middle in the middle. You do the end at the end. A process, once you begin it, you just follow it along. That's why it's called the word process. That's why we have the word process. Drew Dolce has said, very powerful. And 3.33. Yes, well, I think you've cheated on this one, man, because you watched the video that you were supposed to watch at the end of the course. So I released the course on self-authoring, and at the last end, I did an example of what it means to share your declaration of who you are and what life is and what you've learned about yourself through all of your experiences. And yet, I, of course, did the example and I spoke about my life, and yet you were supposed to do the course yourself before you watched that. So, cheating, but go do the course. It's available now. It's free. It's also on Udemy for free. Next up, I think this might be the last one. The Nikolakakakakakaka01 commented, sorry for the chompers joke and the vamp. I love you to a point where I ditch my kids for you. Well, first of all, no problem about the comments on the vampire teeth. Perfectly understandable. And as for ditching the kids, there's no need to do that. We can raise your kids together. We can be 2 dads. We can be gay. And no even need to leave your wife. Wait, did I say that right? No need to even leave your wife. We can be a threesome. We can raise your kids together. The more the merrier. And, you know, actually in tribal times, that was much more how it was. Monogamy, single nucleus, single parent, double parent nucleus family structure is actually a modern invention. It's actually a post-agricultural invention. So it's very new. In olden times, in the caveman days and the tribal days, a woman would have many, many male partners, because when the child is born, the male wouldn't know if it was his. And therefore, every male wants to take care of the child. And then, of course, the mother, the mama, has many men to help and support and work. So very different to the structure that we live in this modern world. Next comment comes from Drew Dolce, who I have done a whole video on this. Actually, my previous video was actually a whole video just about this. This person says, another OG, at the lowest point of my life, watching you has become a highlight. Thanks, Doster. Well, man, thank you very much for watching along. It might be just you and me, man. I've said that before, but that's fine. Totally cool. Let's keep on doing this, and I hope you keep on going through. Take care of yourself. Keep it real. I'm also at a very low point. I am absolutely done for right now in so many ways. And I was thinking that the funny thing is that when you are at rock bottom, it's tricky because there's so much shame and guilt and no one to really talk to about it, and you can't really open up about it because, well, there's judgment and it's not easy and it's not necessarily going to be met with understanding. So I hear you, man. I hear that life can really get you down sometimes. And, you know, it's not my job to complain. It's not my job to talk about my problems. It's my job to offer solutions. It's my job to say, let's stick this out. Let's recommit. Let's focus again. Let's get up and take some positive steps and do what we can. Now, remember the 3 steps that we talked about in the previous video. Step 1, wait. Have patience. You can't get out of rock bottom straight away. It takes time. Step 2, do no harm. No destructive behavior. No doing things that will make things worse. And you know what those things are. You know what your self-destructive behaviors are. You really have to stop those, and you have to be really careful. And really, to expand on that a bit, it means not taking risks. Now, certain times in life, you do want to take risks. Sometimes you want to go off on an adventure. An adventure is a risk. Sometimes you want to try a new project or a new relationship. You want to take risks. You want to go out. You want to be in different environments. You want to do different things. There's a degree of danger to that, yeah? Now, I'm not advocating for putting yourself in harm's way. Of course not. You still do things in logical, meaningful safety that is, you know, common sense. But there's a time for the adventure. That's not now. Do no harm. Now is the time for taking your time, for slowing down, being careful, conserving your energy, conserving your resources. And then the third one, do you remember what the third one was? Build habits. This is your chance to build habits. And this is actually a great opportunity because what's going to happen, take for example, if you're having trouble with money, your lifestyle will go down so that you're spending less and less money, and you'll learn to spend less money, and then you'll start to eventually earn more money, and then you will keep your costs down, even though you're earning more, and then you'll be able to save more. So you'll actually be in a better position. You're actually learning skills, and you can learn, there's also a lesson in not needing so much stuff. There's a power in knowing I can do without this stuff. That means if you fall into a job that you don't like, or there's a situation that involves a certain amount of cost to you monetarily, then you can get yourself out of that. You could say, I don't have to put up with this. There's a power in knowing yourself. See, really, the ultimate power is self-knowledge. And knowing your relationship with money, or whatever your rock bottom is, whether it's a substance or an addiction, or it's a relationship, or it's a situation, or it's a combination of things, really self-knowledge is the king. Nothing beats self-knowledge. I'm going to say this again and again, and it's always been the case, tale as old as time, and it will always be the case. Know yourself, have a connection to yourself, self-awareness. Now you might say the self is an illusion. Now, of course, yes, not entirely accurate. The self is illusory, not entirely an illusion. It's not quite accurate to say that because it implies that the self doesn't exist. It does exist in a certain kind of way that it is intangible. But that's a rabbit hole for another day. That's a big conversation. We're going to talk about that as we go along. Thank you guys for your comments. Stay safe. and I'll be back again very soon with more.